Hello and welcome to another edition of the Hughes at 10. I'm Graham Hughes. It's 10 o'clock. Actually, no, it's 1 minute past 10. Sorry, a bit late tonight. I've been working hard on a secret project that I can't talk about just yet, but I'll tell you all about it on Friday in our last of the Hughes at 10s. But we're not quite there yet. So, great news. Lockdown is over. We've got a tier system instead now, which no one understands. Yay. But the big thing is that we're getting the vaccine. We're getting the American German vaccine, which is a big triumph for the United Kingdom, considering I don't think we had anything to do with it. And so now we're going to have this huge debate over people saying, I don't want to get vaccinated because they have been told not to trust science, not to trust people who are clever, not to trust experts for the last 30 years. And now suddenly the government has spun on a sixpence and is now saying, hey, I want you to trust the experts, trust the scientists, trust them all and get vaccinated because it's the only way we can get our society back on its feet after this absolutely horrifically awful year. Right, so that's your starter for 10. I hope you can all hear me. I'm just going to say a quick hello to everyone. A quick hello to Daffyd there, John Barleycorn, Tom Monk. Hello, Elizabeth Bennett. Hi, Elizabeth. Spider Girl here. Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. Elizabeth's become one of my Patreon sponsors today, so I'm going to let her do any spider things that she likes. Tom Monk, spiders. Why does it always have to be spiders? That's what I would say. Rat Army in the house. Smack that like, says Danzig Foley. Loads of messages. Because the super creatures, no. You see, the thing is, Elizabeth, the thing about spiders is they're greedy, all right? When all the other animals, when all the other creatures were being made, right, they got 2 legs or 4 or 6 at a push, right? He goes, right, I want 8. And he's like, okay, you can have 8. Because octopuses have 8. That's okay. You got octopuses. They've got 8 legs, so you can have 8 legs too. I also want 8 eyes. What? I want 8 eyes. But octopuses don't have 8 eyes. Octopuses have 2 eyes in their face. And they have 2 eyes. And for some reason, spiders get 8. 8 eyes? Who needs 8 eyes? Jesus Christ, evolution. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that's why spiders are wrong and greedy. Great at knitting. Spiders are great at knitting. This is a spider knitted shirt that I'm wearing. Hi, I'm Ed Winchester, says Charlie Nelson. A bit confused about that. Tom Monk says that was my allusion to Harry Potter. I think we're getting our pop culture mixed up here. David says, "I'll be Dean." Oh God, I'm not getting into in jokes. It's too cliquey. I won't understand what's going on. Vodka and Coke Zero here from Danzig. That's good. Tom says, so what's happening in the news in the UK? Well, I just said that we're getting the vaccine. We're getting the vaccine next week. It's going to start rolling out to people in care homes and to care home workers, finally, and people over 80. And then it's going to be people over 70, and then it's going to be people over 60, and it's going to go down like that until everyone is covered. Pretty much, I think everyone over the age of 50 is going to get vaccinated one way or another. And I don't think children are getting vaccinated at all. And anyone who's between the age of a child and 50, like me, will be given the opportunity to get one if they need it for work. If you don't need it for work, you probably won't get it because it costs 30 quid per injection. I think, or was it $30? I don't know. It's about the same anyway these days. But yeah, so already there are people out there, scumbags, absolute scumbags, like Jacob Rees-Mogg, Nadine Dorries, who's unfortunately a Scouser. God, another embarrassing one. And that absolute wank of a man, Hat Mancock, all putting out there that this wouldn't be possible, this vaccine that was developed in an EU country, Germany, it wouldn't be possible for this vaccine to be allowed to be distributed in the United Kingdom if we hadn't left the EU. Okay, a few things wrong with that. First of all, we haven't left the EU, really, because we're still in the transition period where nothing has changed, and we're still under the jurisdiction of the ECJ, the European Court of Justice. If Britain does something at the moment in which that breaks EU law, we can be taken to the ECJ until the end of this month. So yeah, we could do it anyway. And it's a bit like the blue passports. It's a bit like deporting people that we don't want to have come over from Poland and don't have any money to stay here. We could have done that anyway. It's a bit like not having to take the euro. We didn't. It's a bit like, I don't know, not being part of Schengen. We were part of Schengen. So everything that these Vex shitters think and demand and imagine the EU to be, it's not that. And it's so frustrating when they can just lie on social media, and they just don't. They're so thick. They're so inbred. I mean, the only thing I'll say positive about Nadine Dorries is at least she didn't go to private school unlike the other two. But even so, they're so thick they don't see that at the very moment that we need the UK people here to embrace the truth. The truth is that vaccines work. The truth is that the World Health Organization with vaccines managed to eradicate smallpox from the face of the earth. The point is that the World Health Organization has almost got rid of polio. It's got rid of one of the 3 strains of polio. It's got rid of wild polio. It doesn't exist anymore. And they were on course to wipe out all polio on earth by 2022. In fact, measles have been gotten rid of in America in 2000. It was functionally extinct. And we brought it back because of anti-vaxxers, because of people who don't believe stuff just for the sake of not believing it. And I get why they don't believe stuff, because it's really hard to suss out what's real and what's not real. And then on a day when these knobheads in the Tory fucking party should be excited about the idea that we have this light at the end of the tunnel, we're going to have this vaccine, and if it works, which it should do, it's been tested and tested and tested, it means that we can go back to normal. This nightmare will end. Can they take solace in that? Can they take pride? No, not pride, not solace. What's the word that you want? Just some little degree of honor, of decency, of being a good person. No, they use it as an excuse to batter the EU with a complete straw man of an argument that we wouldn't have been able to have this vaccine so quickly had we stayed in the EU. An absolute 100% flat out fucking lie. I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. And it goes on. It just goes on. You imagine what it's going to be like next year, don't you? When you're going to see it. Oh, yeah, well, you know, all these trucks are stuck at the border. Yeah, it's the EU's fault. They're making us fill out paperwork. Yeah, they didn't make us do that when we were a member. Jesus Christ. Right, back into your lovely messages. Greetings from Belgium, where you can only get a vaccine if you are not an EU member. That's kind of weird. Who said today we could only approve this vaccine code quickly because we have left the EU? Last month we changed the regulations, so a vaccine did not need EU approval, which is slower. David, that was either Jacob Rees-Mogg or Hat Mancock or Nadine Dorries, who writes. She writes like Sweet Valley High style love fiction. She does, that woman, Nadine. Yeah, she's an author. She's like an author of girl stories. Anyway, Tom Monk says, hasn't the government always lied about Brexit? Yes. Actually, the government just lies. The government that we got at the moment, they got rid of any decent Conservative in the last election. And so now it's just wingnuts, idiots, fools, cheats, liars, creeps, rapists, sadists, arseholes, posh cunts, just the worst. Just the worst people on the planet, and they're all in one party. It's like the shittest party ever. It's like if you went to a party and everyone in the party was like Charles Manson, and you're like, oh fuck, this isn't going to turn out so well. This is going to be a shit party. That's the Tories right now. Trump was speaking, was he? Oh God, Trump again. Jesus, has he conceded yet? Has he? Fuck. Although it does look like Barr, his Attorney General, is now sort of distancing himself from the absolute motherfucking plane crash that is this the end of the Trump presidency. I mean, it is just talk about. It started with a whimper and it's going out with an even whimpery whimper, isn't it? It's just pathetic that a grown man can't just see reality because he lives in his own little Trump world. and he takes all of his Trump followers into his little Trump world with him, where nothing is real unless you want it to be real. Nothing's true unless you want it to be true. Nothing's false unless you want it to be false. And it's so infantile. And what he's done, what that man has done, is he's infanticized. Infanticized, is that a word? I don't know. It should be. He has made the US, a vast chunk of the US, into children. That's what he's done. He's made them regress. Arrested development, call it what you want. But the way they see the world is like a child sees the world. They don't see a lake and think, oh, that must have fallen because when the rainwaters come down from the mountains, it goes into a depression and that makes a lake. No, they look at it and go, oh, that's somewhere for me to swim. God made that so I can swim in that. And you're like, oh, for God's sake. Oh, yeah. They don't have they're not holding on to the right end of the stick, but boy, are they holding on to it. It's 2020. The fake Lisbon Treaty. Can I say Tweety? The fake Lisbon Treaty should have been implemented. So Sweden now has the euro, as has the Czech Republic and Denmark. Oh no, they don't. It's a lie. Sugar Free says this, and Hungary. Hungary's got the lei, hasn't it? Is the lei or the li? Sugar Free says this government will mess the vaccine up for sure. The second dose will defrost or something, and they'll blame foreign fridges or something. Sugar Free, the good news is that, okay, it's going to be kept as my understanding. Look, I'm no expert on this. This is just what I read during the day. The vaccine's got to be kept at -70. That's long-term storage. Once it's at room temperature, and obviously it has to be injected in you at room temperature. You don't want to be injecting like something that's -70. It'll kill you. It will last for a week. Either room temperature or just refrigerated. So it should be all right. Elizabeth Bennett says, my only glimmer of hope from all the crap we're going to suffer is it will finally crush this country's xenophobia. Yeah. But we need more leaders on the left. We need more people, actually the centre, the Lib Dems, moderate Tories, moderate Labour, even the SNP. We all need to get together and take down the Tories together. We need to like form up like a robot in space of different spaceships that form to make a big robot. And then we need to take the Tories down because it's the only way we're going to do it. They get 40% of the vote in every bloody election, and they win elections with 40% of the votes and have absolute power to do whatever they want for 5 years. It's not the way to do it. Ghostwritten, I don't understand the anti-intellectual, anti-science attitude. That's from Tom Monk. I do understand it. I do understand it. I hate it, and I wish it didn't exist, but I do understand why people think like that. It goes back to being in school, being told where you land in school, this kind of bitterness towards people who seem to find it really easy. And this is something that I've found as well. Some of the things I've done in life have been really fucking hard, but the way I make them look, it makes it look like it was dead easy. And I gave this impression, I know, when I traveled around the world. Everyone was like, oh, you're always partying. You're always having a great time, Graham. How can you be doing this serious Guinness World Record at the same time? And I was like, well, I'm not going to just bore you to death with the minutiae of me filling out all these bloody customs forms and visa things and letters of invitation to try and get into all these countries and looking at shipping timetables for 2 hours a day. That's not exciting. So I just cut to the chase and say, look at this exciting thing. And that's one of those things where you only see the end result. You go, wow, that worked. But what you don't see are other projects that I've tried to do that have failed miserably. Case in point, I tried to go to every country in Europe in 3 weeks without flying for a new Guinness World Record 3 years ago. And I got it thrown back in my face because the Guinness World Record said, no, dickhead, because I went from Iceland to Cyprus, right, through all the countries of Europe, and they went, Cyprus isn't part of Europe, technically, geographically speaking. I was like, oh, for God's, really? Because obviously it's part of the EU. Well, at least the southern, western side of the island is. And yeah, they also said that Turkey wasn't part of Europe, which really outraged me because obviously Istanbul is famously the city that straddles 2 continents, and I'm sure one of them's Europe. I'm pretty sure it's not Africa, but you know, what do I know? All my maps are made of crayons by me. But yeah, so yeah, I came up crop on that, and then obviously there's been a lot of TV shows that I've tried to get off the ground or make production companies in the US, in the UK, and lots of discussions. I got flown over to Minnesota once for discussions, but they never actually came to fruition. But we don't really talk about that. No one sees that. They'll just look at something that I did do, like I did do a TV show with Lonely Planet, National Geographic and the BBC. And that's like, oh my God, you got this TV show. And I'm like, yeah, I did, but it was 10 years ago. I'd love to do another one about travel. But here I am, 10 o'clock at night for the 30th night in a row. Is it 30 nights now? Talking about bloody fucking Brexit. Story of my life for the next 20 years. Stephen Gold says, ghost written. Okay. I'm going to skip a few. I'm just going to go down because I realize when people are reading this back the next day, they don't necessarily see the messages that I'm looking at, because I just try to go through them one by one. I always get way left behind. Tom Monk saying, did you see the report about the Justice Department investigation into paying for pardons? Wow. No, I didn't see that. I'm going to. I can't do it right now, but I will look at that. Ian Cope said, just turned there to hear your statement on the EU bashing ReVac from the Irish perspective. The Irish media are mocking the British government over portraying Brexit benefits as a potential lifesaver. Yeah, it's just absolute nonsense. And the thing is, actually, they need to get the vaccine in now, because if they try and get it in next month, we're going to be fucked. We're not going to get anything in. All the ports are going to be clogged up. No one knows what they're doing. There's no infrastructure in place. There's not enough people. The people who are there aren't trained to handle this kind of shit. Oh my God, it is just going to be an immense clusterfuck. But as someone pointed out on the radio this morning, actually one of the freight forwarders from Dover pointed it out this morning. There isn't going to be that many lorries because people aren't going to bother, because you get paid by the mile, apparently. So if you're sitting around in a queue for 3 days waiting to get in or out of Kent, then you're not going to do that. You're either going to demand that you take a route that just keeps you within the EU, or get an office job, sit in front of a computer or something. We're kind of this weird stage in human technological evolution where we haven't quite got to driverless trucks from Wolverine. Is it Wolverine? No, Logan. And we haven't quite got to food that is made in the lab. Although we're getting close. I think there's something going on sale in Singapore next year, which is synthesized chicken, which I will eat. I will eat with no guilt whatsoever. It'd be great. I always feel a little pang of guilt whenever I eat meat, so I'd rather not. I'd rather just eat it from that's been made in my nice, friendly science laboratory. Okay, moving on. Tom Monk, the anti-knowledge thing is a combination of resentment and the confusion of opinion with fact. Both elements exploited by psychopathic politicians. Sugar-free. That is the best summation of the anti-knowledge thing. That's just brilliant. Resentment, confusion of opinion and fact, and the fact that this is played upon by very, very terrible people who should not be in charge of running a bath. Never mind a country. Tom Monk, I was talking on the phone I was talking to someone on the phone, and another attorney in my suite overheard the conversation and complained to his attorney that I was discussing the election and supported Biden. But sorry, someone complained to their attorney that you supported Biden? Jesus Christ. Okay. Don't tell him that he got like 80 million views, 80 million votes. His head will explode. Be like the end of Kingsman. Johan says, I think it's more like feelings. My feelings are better than facts. Yeah, that's true. Oh, sorry, misstated. It was a client of another attorney who overheard the conversation. That's quite impressive, isn't it? I want to put it in a complaint. What? Well, there was an election, okay? And these people voted for the wrong person. Where do I complain? Okay. Were you bothered when the Russians interfered a few years ago? No, that was fine. That was bloody wonderful. Yes, Russia's the best British or American people you could ever meet. They always have our best interests at heart. That's why when Trump was elected, everyone in the Duma stood up and gave him a jolly good round of applause. Ha, ha, ha. Anyway, Tom Monk says, I'm about to buy a book by a guy called Kurt Anderson called Fantasyland, who explains why US is so full of nutters. Well, that's interesting. So the US is full of nutters. It has a higher rate of serial killers, I think, than any other country in the world, with the exception of perhaps of Russia. I'm not bashing Russia, but yeah, but also cults, like nearly every major cult that you've heard of in the last X many years probably originated in America, and more specifically originated in California. So Charlie Manson's cult, the Jonestown cult, I think even the Waco, Texas cult originated in California. If I'm wrong on that, then I'm wrong. But I think that he moved across. David Koresh moved to Texas, but maybe he was from Texas all along. But yeah, California, something in the water. Something in the water. Chubai says, dry ice will keep the vaccine at minus 70 degrees. If I remember correctly, we had a shortage of CO2 when a plant in Germany went offline. See a problem? Well, look, let's deal with stuff if it comes up. But at the moment, we're still in a good place now to see the end of this damn fucking virus. John B. Craddock says, I've had a belly full of COVID anti-vaxxers today. And this is the problem as well. This is the problem with Trump. This is the problem with Brexit. This is the problem with COVID-19, right? These are all in themselves awful fucking things. But it's not just the things that are awful for society. It's the fact that they cause people to go one side or the other, black or white. There's nothing in between. It's binary, on or off, 1 or 0. And it means that they rip apart families. They rip apart friendships. Brexit has, Trump has, COVID-19 has. But you've got someone on your Facebook or on Twitter or someone that you know who is a mad, this isn't real, it's not happening, no, it's not happening. And I'm tempted to just go, oh, fuck off, and tell them that the person that they know who died of cancer, oh, do you know that cancer doesn't exist? They just made it up to make money. You know when you were holding your mum's hand as she slipped away from lung cancer? Yeah, it was just made up because they didn't want people buying cigarettes or some, I don't know what the reasoning is, but cancer doesn't exist. And I'll go, what? How could you be so disrespectful? How could you be so cruel? And you just get a mirror and just show it to them. Not a copy of the mirror, I mean an actual mirror that you can see yourself in. And just go, look, that's you. Got all history today there, aren't I? That's you, that is. Okay, 20% of all vaccine transport in the world is originating from Brussels Airport because we have the numbers of medical companies we have. Oh, well, there you go. Didn't know that. I didn't have a go at Belgium the other day. I was having a go at Portugal about its empire. I was having a go at Britain, obviously, and France. Don't think I mentioned Germany. They used to have the top part of Papua New Guinea. They used to have Tanganyika, which is now Tanzania. But we had the British had Zanzibar, and then they came together, and Tanganyika and Zanzibar came together and made Tanzania, which is very exciting for people like me. That word exists. I like words, not the history so much, which is pretty awful. But what's interesting about Zanzibar is that it used to be French, I think, and the British took it over. They swapped it. No, they swapped it with Madagascar. So the British had Madagascar. No, they shouldn't have, because what are they doing over there? So the other side of the bloody planet. Then they go, right, we've got Madagascar. We want to swap it for this little teeny tiny little island off the coast of Tanzania. Tanganyika. And the French said, okay, yeah, we'll swap. Why? Why would the British want to swap a big island for a little one? Anyone know? It's one word. You could answer that question in one word. If you want to put it in the comments, you will win my undying admiration. I'll just leave that to ferment there. There are 10 types of people in the world. Those who understand binary and those who don't. John Barleycorn, I like that. Klabams says, what's your take on the extremists losing their shit over the fact that they have to abide by EU laws and can only spend 90 days inside the EU per 6 months? Well, it's Project Fear. It's just not true. What I think they should do is stay in the country that they're in for more than 90 days and just see what happens. Just read in Private Eye that track and trace system wasted 12 billion. That wasted 12 billion is about to have another 7 billion pumped into it. Yeah. Even though it's pointless now because we're getting the vaccine. So just stop. Just stop throwing money off this cliff. Stop putting it into a well that's on fire. Just stop. Belgium had a good wedge. Oh, yeah, sorry, I was talking about the Belgian Empire. Yeah, so if you read a book called King Leopold's Ghost, it's about Leopold II's exploitation of the Congo back in the beginning of the previous century, and it is horrific. Half of the population of Congo were killed. Half of them. So yeah, Belgium pretty bad as well when it comes to around the world stuff. Germany had Upper Volta, didn't it? And had Namibia, but that was northwest, south, east, up, down, left, right, Africa, as it used to be called. But now it's Namibia. That was a German one. And the capital, Windhoek. You'll meet people in Windhoek who are native Windhoekians, and they speak with a German accent, which is really, really bizarre. No one's got my question there. No one's got my question about why the British and the French why the French were happy to swap Zanzibar for Madagascar or vice versa. That's a good question. And it feeds into Canada as well for some reason, but there you go. It's another story. Sugarfree says the talk of a grace period from shipping between Northern Ireland and the rest of UK as systems are not in place. Yeah, I thought they'd come up with that. Didn't I keep saying it was going to be called implementation period? Yeah, now it's going to be a grace period because we're not ready. We're so not ready. And the stupid government has put this arbitrary deadline. And I hate that. I hate to put it in law. A deadline, an arbitrary deadline put into law for no reason. It's like some bad Hollywood script writers writing all this shit. Tom Monk says the speech yesterday was by someone working for the Georgia State Secretary. I don't know if that's a speech you are referring to. I don't know. Because it's a small island and that island is far away. Father Ted reference there from Chubby. No, that's not the reason. There was something on Zanzibar. Fun fact, Zanzibar is in the Guinness Book of Records as a location of the shortest war in history. This is very true. It's called like the 5-minute war or something. It only went on for like an hour or something. Is it the 3-minute war? Congo was not our finest hour, but we only got offered Congo as the other European states were deciding who would get it. To be fair, Leopold was against atrocities, but he didn't put his foot down. Well, yeah, I don't want to be too fair to King Leopold II, if you don't mind. I'm not particularly fair to Winston Churchill or Gandhi or Mother Teresa. I don't think why I should make an exception for Leopold II. Christopher Milne's got it there. Oh no, Chubby, wrong spice. Christopher Milne says Zanzibar equals spice. He's right, but which spice? Which spice? Does anyone know? Zanzibar is somewhere where like there's a particular spice. It's all getting very June, isn't it? It's all getting very Frank Herbert. I saw a trailer for that, and they're making a new version of it, aren't they? David says, no, not pepper. Who cares about pepper? Was it something to do with British control of, he said, sporty spice? Nutmeg. Are people just going to name spices? Well, name the most expensive spice. Name the spice that you get a little tiny bit of and it costs £5. Graham, I don't think any country engaged in colonialism has done right by their colonies. Saffron! Christopher Milne's got it. Yeah, sorry, Christopher Milne was there first. It was saffron. So Zanzibar had saffron at the time, pound for pound, worth more than gold, like the song, which was about saffron, wasn't it? Basically the spice they wanted. So they swapped this huge, massive, big fuck-off island that's full of really interesting animals like lemurs and stuff, and of Madagascar, and they swapped it for this little tiny little speck of Zanzibar. But there you go. Paul Mason saying, I read the first genocide of the 20th century was carried out by the Germans in German Southwest Africa, known as the what's that? Herero and Namakwa genocide. Well, there you go. German Southwest Africa, which became after the First World War, I think it got taken over kind of by South Africa but then it got independence in the 90s and became Namibia. Snowy Adams, yeah, the GOP ads in Georgia are really unbelievable. I've missed them. I've missed a bit. So what I was going to say about Canada, because Britain did something similar. So I think it was the end of the 7-Year War. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have a history book in front of me. But Britain took Guadeloupe. They took Guadeloupe in the Caribbean, and then in the chain, it's just above Dominica. And they said, right, we're going to take this. And the the French were like, oh my God, you can't take this. We want it back. We want it back. So in the negotiations at the end of the seven-year war of the 1760s, I want to say, maybe 50s, they negotiated basically to hand Canada over to the British in return for Guadeloupe. And apparently the great wit Voltaire dissed Canada at the time as just a few acres of snow. Yeah, take that, Canada. Sorry, I love you, but you did give us Justin Bieber and Bryan Adams. Elizabeth Bennett said, people want edgy Voltaire. People want to wear all the gear my little girl did for 12 hours each shift. People making a fuss over masks. They had to keep them. They had to swap them for gasping for breath. Yeah, Elizabeth, you're absolutely right on that. The whole anti-masker thing, it was so pathetic, and this idea that it was an infringement of someone's liberty, their liberty to infect other people with a deadly disease. And it's the same mentality as people who smoke in public places and think it's their God-given right to pollute the atmosphere, to pollute the air that other people are breathing. And you're like, what? And make it stink? It's like if someone was walking around with a spray bottle of uranium powder or something and just spraying it around everywhere and it stank of shit. You'd be like, what are you doing? Oh, it's my right. It's my right just to pollute the air with this radioactive substance that may or may not give you cancer, depending on life's lottery. Snowy Adams is saying, seen them on CNN earlier, gobsmacked. I've missed a bit here. I missed a bit. Leopold owned that territory. He was responsible for countless deaths and atrocities to enrich himself and satisfy his inferiority complex in the courts of Europe. I'm going to go with John on that one. Sorry, John, you're right. And the inferiority complex was a lot to do with the fact that Belgium was a very young country at the time and it wasn't as established as the other states. Neil Young, yeah, Neil Young's good though. And Leonard Cohen. Yeah. And Arcade Fire. Yeah, they're pretty good. But come on. They've given us some terrible, terrible music. I mean, Nickelback. Come on, Canada. Up your game. Tom Monk, I can do this because I'm from Liverpool. I can just beat anyone in maybe not Jamaica. I think Jamaica's the only place on earth that would go toe-to-toe with Liverpool for music. Yeah, Canada, come on. You can do it. Although I have to say, William Shatner doing his version of Rocket Man by Bernie Taupin and Elton John. That's just a thing of exquisite beauty. And everyone after this should, if they haven't seen it, should type into the Google, type it into YouTube, William Shatner, Rocket Man, and just enjoy. Just enjoy. Tom Monk says, talking of Canada, oh, sorry, this isn't Charlie Nelson. Talking of Canada, have you seen the movie The 49th Parallel? Yes, I have. And it's really funny. It's sorry, it's not funny. It's a war film, but it is quite funny because it's about these Nazis who get basically they end up in Canada and they're trying to get across the 49th parallel, which I believe is the border between Canada and America, I think. I don't know. And they're trying to get out and they just go around being the most brilliantly cartoonish villains you could possibly imagine. It's like they meet some old guy and they're like, oh, can you help me fix this tire? And he's like, okay, yeah. And he helps them fix the tire. And he goes, oh, cool, you fixed your tire, yeah. And then they shoot him in the head. It's like that. It's brilliant. It's like a piece of propaganda that was made to try and help get America involved in the war by saying, look, these Nazis are coming to you if you don't join in and stop being all kind of neutral, which it never really was it? Because America was always sort of giving things to the Allies. But there was a lot of pushback in America at the time because there was a big nationalist sentiment, isolationist, protectionist sentiment in America. Just like keep it here. No, we don't want to bother with the rest of the world. And what happens when you don't bother with the rest of the world? Pearl Harbor gets fucking bombed. That's what happens. So pay attention, people. Keep up at the back. Cutting foreign aid budgets, not a good idea. Just not reading the news anywhere else, not a good idea. Trade wars, not a good idea. Tariffs, not a good idea. The way that you achieve peace, as we've seen all over the world, is through trade. You've got something, I've got something. You want to trade this, you want to trade that, that's great. if there's a war going on, you can't do that. So, war's bad. What about the band with a capital T and a capital B? Yeah, what about them? Daffyd says, oh my God, no! I think Daffyd's fallen off a cliff. I don't know if he was dictating. Shatner rocks. Oh yeah, no Cap Kirk singing. Daffyd, if you want even better than Captain Kirk singing, Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, when she was stoned off her tits in 1978, was in the Star Wars Holiday Special, and she sings a song to the tune of Star Wars, completely mashed out of her face, and it is brilliant. It's terrible. It's absolutely awful, but it's also brilliant. Shatner's Common People too. Yes, he did a cover of Pulp's Common People, which we also like. David says, no, blame Canada with all their beady eyes and flapping heads so full of lies, from South Park, I think. Chubai says, wasn't that Louisiana? I don't know. Canadian Bacon, just blame them. Yeah, that was a good movie, that Canadian Bacon, with John Candy. I think it was one of John Candy's last movies. Tom Monk says, I think you are right. My bad. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. William Shatner, we're having a bit of a Shatner love in here, aren't we? Good old Shat. Alanis Morissette sings like the South Park Canadians. Actually sings like the South Park Canadians sing. That's so true. Oh, you can't say that, but it's true. Elizabeth Bennett, I think I'm going to watch all of your Three Blokes in the series and make notes of your truth stroke predictions. Well, the best ones were from Kieran. Kieran was on the money on absolutely everything. He still texts me like every day with more information about what's going to happen, and he's never been wrong. He's never been wrong. It's phenomenal. It's almost like Kieran's job is being an EU courier and going across the border every day in a van and seeing what happens. Anyway, but Rees-Mogg, it's very posh. He's got a hedge fund. He sounds like he knows what he's doing. The USA did a trade embargo against Japan, which led to increased tensions. Yeah, again, protectionism. Holyhead, that doesn't excuse Pearl Harbor. Obviously, that was that you can't just kill people for the sake of a trade war. I mean, what is this? Star Wars Episode 1? Holyhead's truck stop. Oh, that's easy for you to type. Holyhead truck stop staff made redundant as UK government secures a Road King site for customs facility. What? Oh my word. Anyway, it goes on. That's from John O'Sullivan. Eddie Burns, war is not a way to do business, but make profit. Well, no, only certain sectors make profit in war, and it's unsustainable. And that's why Germany's economy couldn't survive that long under Hitler, because he had a war-footing economy. That's why the economy of the old USSR pretty much collapsed. The people were queuing up for bread and potatoes because it was based on this kind of war mentality. It was like churning stuff out and getting your totals and stuff like that. There was no... It was too regimented. It was too based on trying to get these things out and working towards a war. And if there was no war, or the war went on too long, you're fucked. And seriously, spending loads of your nation's money making something that literally explodes is the worst expenditure you could possibly imagine. Even if you win the war, the chances of you getting the money back that you spent on the damn thing is less than zero. You're not going to get your money back. America just about got its Marshall Aid Plan money back in like what, the 2010s? I mean, fucking hell. So yeah, good luck with getting some reparations from Germany for World War I, mate. Yeah, off you go. Not going to happen. We're talking Pearl Harbor. Shatner's with Lucy in the plot. Oh God, we're still talking about Shatner. That's fine. Love a bit of Shat. Adrian Wilson says, Graham, also often forgotten that Germany actually declared war on the US shortly after Pearl Harbor. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and Germany declared war 11th December 1941. Yeah, so it is like there's a flood. There's a flood outside your house, and yeah, you can shut your door, and you can actually, no, forest fire is a better example. Forest fire, you can shut yourself in a house and protect it and everything, but at the end of the day, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore the fact that the forest is on fire if you live in the damn forest. and we all live in the forest. There's no other forest. It's planet Earth, mate. There's nowhere else to go. It's planet Earth in all directions. It really is. Even if you go into space and you travel in a straight line for near on eternity, eventually you'll come back to Earth because it moves in 4 dimensions. I don't get it. It just does. All right. William Shatner also sang Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds by the Beatles. It is shocking. Canadian Bacon is Michael Moore's only fictional film so far. No, that's not true. He did a film, didn't he? Or he was like the executive producer on a film that was all bashing the environmental lobby, because they're the ones you should be going after, Michael, not the ones who are making loads of money out of selling landmines to put in children's lunch boxes, not the ones who are making loads of money out of cigarettes or oil or selling uranium to crazy people. No, let's go after the environmentalists, because, bastards. And they were using in this documentary, which a few people have sent me the link to it, and I've gone, oh God, let's have a look at this then. And everything in it can be debunked so easily, and it's daft stuff like, no, well, it costs more money in terms of natural resources to make a solar panel than it does to make a car. Well, they don't say that, but they imply it, and they say about solar panels efficiencies and stuff like that. I lived off grid for 3 years in Panama on solar power. It works. Hair curlers don't work. I give you that. Not enough power for hair curlers. If I had a bigger array, I'd have enough power for hair curlers. But I didn't need hair curlers, so it was okay. Or the toaster. Has anyone mentioned Rush yet? FFS. What, the movie by Ron Howard with Thor in, where it's about James Stewart, is it? And Elia Karakas. No, what's the other guy's name? He got burnt in the fire. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, no, I think you're talking about Rush Limbaugh, aren't you? Sorry. Yeah, he's a liar, isn't he? Is he a DJ? Is he a lying DJ? Does he just go on the radio and just tell lies? And Bush likes to listen to him. Is that the Rush you mean, Claire? Let me know. Darian saying like in big letters. So obviously I haven't got enough likes. If anyone's watching this who is logged in and would like to like, I would like it very much if you like this like content, because being a Scouser, you're supposed to say like at the end of every sentence, and I don't do it enough, because I think that if I did, more people would like my videos. I mean, actually give them a like, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe it would just get really irritating, like when people say at the end of the day, or I'm not being funny, or if that makes sense, or I do that all the time. It's just a pause in your breath, and you shouldn't do it. Is another one. It's kind of annoying, but at the end of the day. Anyway, don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but if you believe the Bilderberg control the world economy and deliberately caused COVID to reduce world population, many people believe it. Yeah, that's like the shittest way to reduce the world's population. Hang on a second. I'm just going to do something on my phone, and we might lose sound for a moment. Right. Oh, no. Come back to me. Okay, sorry. What were we talking about? It's conspiracy theory. Yeah, the best way to reduce the population of the Earth is not to have a war, because that's really silly. It doesn't work. It's not to wipe a load of people out in one part of the world, because they just bounce back very quickly, because people like having sex. Did you know that? People love having sex. They do it all the fucking time. Literally, all the fucking time. So you're not going to do it that way. The way to reduce the world's population is to educate women. Or just educate everyone, really, but particularly women, so they can do something with their life other than being at home making babies. And wherever they have an initiation of giving women rights, giving women the vote, giving women the choices in life that men have, you always see the birth rate coming down. Ta-da! It's quite easy, really. Expensive, but easy. If you want to get rid of a load of people, you don't kill the people who are here already. It just doesn't. It's never worked. Did anyone watch Sidney Powell's Georgia rally tonight? Oh God, is Sidney Powell still around? I thought she'd just disappeared up her own arsehole. Mad as a box of frogs. Scary. That's from HK. Yeah. She's the one who was. What was she going to do? She was going to release the Kraken, wasn't she? She was going to release the Kraken in Georgia. Yeah, how's that going? Any bands? It always felt embarrassing to mention peace in Europe, People always ridiculed it like we were overreacting. Yeah, but it's true. The EU created peace in Europe. I mean, it was born out of a desire not to go to war again. And what's the best way not to go to war? Trade. So we'll trade with each other. Okay, but if we trade, then we're going to be surrendering our sovereignty, aren't we? Because we're going to be making decisions on stuff. And basically, those decisions that we make are going to impact what we're allowed to do in our own countries, even though we're doing it in order to facilitate trade. So it might not actually be in our best interest as a selfish nation to allow this, but as part of a bigger thing, a supranational body, then it probably is a good thing because it makes us all richer, and you know the tide pulls up everyone. And yeah, instead of looking at it that way, people have just gone, oh, this terrible, terrible thing. They've made us vote for MEPs. That's so undemocratic. Point here is that there are other trade agreements around the world. There's ASEAN, there's ECOWAS in West Africa, there is Mercosur, there is, sounds like a dinosaur, doesn't it? Like Mercosur. The CARICOM and the Caribbean Community. And these groups all have similar things. The big one is the AU in Africa, but they don't have the same kind of integration as the EU, anywhere near the same sort of integration. But say ECOWAS, if we're just going to talk about West Africa, the idea is that they're kind of approaching the idea of free movement of people, free movement of capital, but they're not quite there yet. But the point is, I don't think that anyone elects their representatives at ECOWAS. I don't think anyone elects their representatives at NAFTA when Mexico, the US, and Canada are talking about trade things. I don't think anyone elects anyone at ASEAN. Everyone was talking about this Trans-Pacific, the Pacific Forum, whatever it's called, with all these different Pacific countries, including Japan and Australia, in this big trade treaty. But I don't think that the ins and outs of those trade treaties going forward are going to be voted on by the Australian people or by the people of Japan. We had quite a unique system in which we actually voted on people to help make the laws of the European Union. And that's great. And we've thrown that away. I think we had 73 MEPs, and we went, no, we don't want that. We don't want we don't want anyone representing us in the biggest and most successful trading union that history, the world, the universe has ever seen. Great. Right, I'm going to just skip. I'm going to skip. Right, go to Colin Barrett now. Best way to reduce population is to put TV in every mud hut. Then they have entertainment options. Lol. No, that's bollocks. Because people still have sex. They just have sex in front of the telly. Come on. HK, tonight's rally was completely batshit with Sidney Powell and a cast of fuckwits. That sounds like a typical day in Trump world. Snowy Adams said, Rush the band. Oh, Rush the band. Sorry, Claire. Yeah, Rush. Yes. They were Canadian, I think. Yes. Full disclosure, I'm playing Farm Heroes while I half listen. But you sound drunk. That is a terrible slur. I've only drank like less than half of this damn thing. I'm just dead tired. I just honestly haven't slept for like a month. Nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with this. Just I've had lots of work to do. Catherine's pulling her hair out with me, but I'm nearly finished. Johan says, my favorite conspiracy theory is a flat earth, mostly harmless, and a good thing to show my daughter is she can learn to spot them. Yeah, flat earthers. Darian says, the Kraken in question turned out to be her necking a bottle of spiced black rum called Kraken rum. Patrick Baker says, ban alcohol. My mum said, without alcohol, I would never have been conceived. People would die of embarrassment if the first shag was sober. Oh, come on, Patch. Oh, that's like the Viz, isn't it? It's got like someone with a beer and it says, beer, helping ugly people have sex since 1852. Yeah, I don't believe that. Come on. What about countries where you can't get alcohol? I don't see the birth rate of Saudi Arabia going down at the moment. But if you look at India, the most religious states in India, you tend to find very high birth rates. And then places like Kerala, where the women have been given roles in government for a long time, their birth rates are right down. Their infant mortality is right down. Their education levels are the highest in India. And yeah, educate women. Educate girls. That's the way to do it. make a better world, better environment, better politics, better everything. But you've seen that cartoon, haven't you? Where it's what liberals want, the future liberals want, and it's all these like men in chains with these women like in bondage outfits with like whips, it's making them work in a quarry. And I like look at that and go, yeah, right. Is this supposed to put me off? Darren said, had we voted to remain, what changes would you like to see in the EU? Darren, I would like to see the euro having a single bank that deals with it all, because at the moment, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, the way it works is that you have different borrowing rates depending on what country you are. So Greece's borrowing rate is not as good for borrowing euros as Germany's, which is when you're using the same currency, it's a bit unfair. But in another way, it's a bit unfair on Germany that they get either a worse credit rating or they get the same credit rating as a country that's been quite irresponsible with its spending, like Greece was 10 years ago. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer would be to that, but they need some kind of mechanism where you can maybe borrow from the European Central Bank and develop that idea a bit more. Big thing with Europe that I'd like to see changed is that the way that the EU countries deal with refugees, and this is an issue that is close to my heart, and I feel like no one's taking the wheel on this, and that's a shame. That's a real shame, because what could happen at the moment, we're getting refugees coming into Greece, coming to Cyprus, coming not so much, but coming to Italy, coming to Spain, because they're obviously able to get there via boats. The idea that those refugees should have to stay in those countries is unfair on the countries and unfair on the refugees. They might not have friends or family or anyone that they know or speak the language of those countries. They might speak English, so they might want to come to England. And so a system in which any refugees are processed before they leave for a dangerous journey across the Mediterranean, which costs hundreds of lives every year, have a processing center set up in Tunisia or Libya or Egypt in a safe country. And essentially we have an allocation system in which refugees are allocated a country to go to. So each country has a certain quota of refugees that it has to take if it wants to stay in the EU. And there can be some negotiation in this. If you say we need a particular skill, then if there are refugees who are coming over, because everyone seems to think refugees are goat farmers. They're not. They're architects, they're doctors, they're teachers, they're lawyers, they're like people with proper jobs and a car and a nice house. You know, they're not all living in a halfway up a bloody mountain with a load of goats. Just get that idea out your head. They're just normal people whose country has been overtaken by war or famine or a terrible government that kills them if they speak out against the government, or kills them for being gay, or kills them for any assortment of reasons. They're fleeing for their lives. And yeah, I think that those the first point of call should be in Egypt or in Libya or in Tunisia. And yes, you'd have to set that up with those countries, but have somewhere they can go. One of the biggest lies that the xenophobic bigots always come out with is this thing of like, these people coming across in boats, they're jumping the queue. They're jumping the queue. There is no fucking queue. The only way that you can claim asylum from Britain, in Britain, is to get to Britain. If you're not in Britain, you can't claim asylum. You can try. You're not going to get very far. I told you this, but I had a friend who worked at the embassy in Nairobi, the British embassy. I suppose it would be a high commission. And her job was basically to tell people from South Sudan who were fleeing war, or from Uganda who were fleeing persecution, or from Somalia who were fleeing anarchy. No, that was her job. She just sat there and told people no, just no, all the time, all day. No, you can't come in. You can't come in. Please, my family are going to be murdered if I stay here. No, you can't. So that's got to be sorted out. So giving British embassies around the world more power to be able to deal with this fairly spreading the load out across the EU, because the idea that all these refugees should all land in one country, that messes things up. Also, this will expose people like Orban who won't go for it. And then you're like, okay, we'll leave the EU then, which would be great because I don't want him in the EU. I want Hungary in the EU, just not Orban. Or his sex party ministers, MEPs, sorry. So yeah, there's that as well. I would like the EU, thirdly, to take more of a lead on the environment, really just grab the world by the balls and say, we are not going to trade with you unless you sort this shit out. And they need to say that to Brazil. They need to say it to Australia. They need to say it to China. And it's like, the EU, when we were in the EU, it was 500 million people, but not just great in terms of numbers. It was 500 million people, a lot of whom were wealthy, and nearly the vast majority on a global scale were affluent. I'm not saying they were rich. I'm not saying they were swimming in money like Scrooge McDuck, but I'm saying they were affluent. They could afford things to buy that were nice, rather than just trying to just stay alive, trying to just survive, which is the life for a lot of people living in some of the more developing nations in the world, emerging economies and stuff like that. And so that power means that they can say to these countries, we are not going to buy your stuff, because all they want to do is sell us stuff. No one has a trade deal because they want to buy things from you. You have a trade deal because you want to sell the world stuff. You want to sell other countries stuff, whatever it is that you make or you produce or whatever you're good at. And yeah, the way that the EU has gone about putting these sanctions down, sanctions is a bad word, but putting these terms down in their trade deals, that they could go further. I know they've gone some distance towards that, but I feel like they could go further. So that'll be my three big things. Oh, another thing that I would do in reforming the EU, it's only a small thing, but I'll change the names of stuff, like calling someone the president of the EU. It gives the wrong impression when they're not directly elected. People don't get it. They don't understand how you could have a president and then not be elected. I'll get rid of the other fucking parliament. Where is it? Strasbourg or somewhere. I'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. This is stupid. Come on. This is it's the sort of thing that Nigel Farage went, oh god, we have to go down south to Strasbourg every month, every week, whatever it is, for one session of the Parliament. And it's because the EU evolved from the European coal and steel community. It's a throwback to that. The French paid for it. I don't know, but yeah, that's another thing. So there's a few little things that the EU need to do or could do, and then there's some big things. I think that dealing with refugees, giving people safe harbor would be a really good idea. And again, when we talk about immigration, let's talk about refugees for a moment. I'm coming up to my time here. Yeah, Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany, she allowed 1 million refugees into Germany during the height of the refugee crisis. And not only was she re-elected, she also saved the economy of Germany. Everyone thought, oh no, this is a terrible idea. It was terrible. It turned out to actually benefit the economy of the country. Whereas countries that shut the door, so we don't want any people coming here, we want to just keep to our own, keep ourselves to ourselves, they tend to go down economically. Because, yeah, of course you do. You need the flow of ideas, commerce, entrepreneurship. You need all that. You need this rich tapestry of society. And to say we only want a society of rich white people, that society is going to fall apart very, very quickly, because a lot of very wealthy white people are fucking psychopaths, and they'll all end up eating each other. Be like Lord of the fucking Flies. But that's possibly the way we're going with Brexit. So hold on to your willies. All right. So listen, I'm going to have to get going, because I've been yakking away here for nearly 59 minutes, and it's already 11 o'clock. God, it goes fast, doesn't it? Alexander Campbell says, pride before the great fall. Yeah, that's, yeah. Sugar Free, what about financial services? Apart from financial services, the UK have to offer the world? Serious question. Could do a whole episode about that. It's a really interesting question. And also, services are the one thing that the WTO doesn't slap any maximum tariff rate on. So there's a maximum tariff rate on lamb, on beef, on coal, on whatever else you're selling. But with services, there's no upper limit. So if a country doesn't like us, it can legally in under WTO rules, you can say, right, we're going to put a 500% tariff on you trying to sell us these services. But yeah, service industry, that's what Britain turned into in the 1980s. We're a service industry. But soon we're going to find out that if you're going to be a service industry, you need people to service. And if you don't have any customers, that's going to collapse pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm going to get going. France has not been happy. France is not happy that we haven't been going since COVID. Yes. Cheers, Graham. You should make your Patreon a little easier to find. I found it anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do, before I go, I'm just going to, I should do this every night, shouldn't I? So it's patreon.com, which stands for communism, / that ginger scouser. Okay, there you go. So if anyone wants to sponsor me for just a few quid, literally £3, if you can spare that, and it's like a subscription thing, and you'll get extra stuff. So as we go on, I'm going to be making more content, which will be exclusively for my Patreon community, and all the other things that I was supposed to have done already. But I'm doing these every day, so give me a chance to catch me breath. But yes, that's it, Jim Chilton. That's the one. That ginger scouser. So thank you all for watching. Before I go, if I could just ask anyone who hasn't yet, just hit the like button. It's good for the algorithms. And thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for all the chat. And I will be back again for the 31st episode in a row of the Hughes at 10. Tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, surprisingly. What are the chances? Hughes at 10 at 10 o'clock. Well, it'll probably be like 1 minute past 10. But until then, beer. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.